So I was out running yesterday.
Ooh.
First time in 2 years.
Okay. How'd that go?
I'm still a bit sore. I only ran like a mile. But there's so many hills and stuff.
My parents are doing some work to their house. So we had to, there was a lot of, throw it away, keep it, bring it to your apartment, sort of, things going on. So it's interesting. In the same vein, I had my old weight set from high school when I played sports and did all sorts of stuff. So I brought it here to the apartment, and I'm getting a little workout on myself.
Okay.
So I get all buff. I keep screaming at my girlfriend, I'm going to be buff like Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's she going to do then?
Nice.
She normally just rolls her eyes and just ignores me. So I think it's working out really well.
Nice.
I'll tell you. So yeah, so it's good.
So do you have so one of the most important accessories for that is obviously a selfie stick. Do you have one of those?
A shake weight?
No, selfie stick. So you can show how
yes,
buff
that's
you
right.
are.
I need to get a selfie stick and then duck face or whatever it is. People
sure,
do.
man.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are we ready? Can we go?
Yeah, we can go.
Nice. I want to welcome everyone to the Coffee Talk Podcast number 20. Believe it or not, we have had a little bit of an interrupted schedule just from timing releases and stuff like that. I do want to say that going forward, Noogie and I mean, this was all my fault these last couple of times. So I didn't do it, Noogie. It's just been timing things with releases can sometimes be tough. So we want to, because I know it's sort of silly to think we could do a podcast at any point, and I know Noogie. That's why
pretty much, yeah.
We can talk whenever, but we like to have something to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very unscripted. You know what I mean? We really could just show up and shoot the shit for 45 minutes, but those are never as good as when we have 3 or 4 things we want to touch on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Exactly. So we, it's not like it's a lot of work, but we want to make sure we're ready. And then it just happened to be that they pushed the release date to Friday. We had a whole plan. We were all set, and and I was busy. So it's my fault. So anyway, so hopefully going forward, we can stay pretty regularized with the schedule.
Yeah, hopefully.
We will definitely be here next Sunday.
Yes.
Right, because we have a guest, right? Have you said
who
the guest is? People know?
Yes, okay. I've said it a few places, but...
So the great Diggy Z will be here. I said his name wrong on purpose. No, Ziggy D will be here, right? Am I right?
You're right.
What we got?
You'll be here.
Okay, good. I was about to say, my brain was like, what if you're wrong, Boris? You're going to look stupid. No, it's very exciting to have him come on. And then just to reiterate, we are definitely going to have a podcast Friday of release date.
Yeah.
So it's Friday my time. I don't know, whatever time it is your time.
We'll probably do it a few hours leading up to it.
Yeah. Like what, 3-4 hours somewhere in there?
Yeah, so we can have like a little bit of a break in between before it's starting, like getting something to eat and all that,
Yeah. I think that's exactly. Yeah. Like I like to take a shower before it starts, so I can be stinky in my room later that night and not feel that bad. Okay, good. So anyway, with all that done, we should definitely. Okay, I guess should we say? I guess there'll be spoilers.
Yeah.
Of something we're gonna talk about. There will be something we might spoil for you in the episode, so we'll also say it again later. If we're gonna really talk about
we'll
something
be talking about some of the gems and stuff.
The gems and stuff. We're gonna and Noogie had it was Noogie's idea to do it last, so people could just skip that part.
Yeah, I still really don't want to hear about it.
Yeah. Anyway, so beta release August 4th. I mean, sorry, 3.0 release.
3.0 release
August 4th.
Yeah.
3.0 release. Are you excited?
I'm really excited. Are you surprised?
Very surprised, because you and I had picked August 11th, as I recall. So we weren't that far off, right? Because we sat there and we were like, I 11th or 18th. As I recall, what we said was we're like, these 2 dates make sense because of, and my contention was always the December release. That was my thing. And so, yeah, I mean,
I did feel like they weren't as far off as a lot of people thought they were and were making it out to be. So I'm not too surprised.
Okay.
But it's a little bit.
Yeah. I definitely was surprised in that sense. I thought it was for sure going to be later. You kill a bug.
Yes.
Is that what that was? Okay. So then my question becomes, are we nervous a little bit about Acts 9 and 10? Because they're doing that all in secret, right?
Yeah, they are. I don't know, nervous? Well, something can go wrong. Obviously, there's a higher chance that something will then be not properly balanced or whatnot. I don't know if I would be nervous about it. I'm probably more positive about it.
Okay.
On the, well, this is going to be new, exciting. We won't have everything spoiled in advance. Nobody will have it spoiled. And I like that. Keeping something for the actual release. So that you go into it without full preparation. I like that. It makes it a little bit more fun.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I was thinking about it when I was taking my sort of hiatus a little bit from PoE. I think that's the right, more I reflect on it, I think it's the right gamble. Right? Of course, something can go wrong, but it keeps things interesting for everyone. Right? Nobody, streamers aren't spoiled, and so then therefore the community really isn't spoiled, because even if you didn't have access, some streamer you like watching, whoever he or she may be, would have access to Acts 9 and 10 if they were actually testing it. So, no, I think that's a really good, it's a good thing. And, maybe...
There's always something going on in PoE anyways. Like, there's always something that's breaking or whatever. Like, you can never get around that. No matter how hard you try, there's always going to be something that just stands out a little bit for being broken or imbalanced or not properly done or whatever. Like if you insist on having everything perfect, nothing will ever get released.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair point. Especially maybe the salty hardcore players with something is stupid is worth it. Yeah, because some of the more memorable leagues that have come out have been the ones where there was something people were salty about, invasion bosses or beyond or whatever. So anyway, I guess the thing that makes me not concerned, but I'm curious.
Okay.
With the release being as of today 11 days from now.
Yeah.
Right, because today is Monday. Roughly, we're 11, 12 days, whatever the math works out to be. Actually, it's probably from right this moment, 11 days, because I bet you it's releasing around this time on Friday of next Friday. But anyway,
11 days, 40 minutes.
11 days, 40 minutes. Okay. Are we going to see more and more gems that they're going to showcase like they've been doing? And we'll leave the gems discussion for later. But I've got to believe there's got to be another 7 to 10 gems coming out.
You think so? That many?
Okay, five more.
I think that's so more.
They've shown 3.
Yeah.
There got to be more than 3, right?
Oh yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Didn't they say like 48 or something? Or am I?
Okay.
I'm not sure.
No. That could. I was looking through. I didn't see. I was looking through posts trying to find something. I didn't see. That sort of rings a bell. I don't remember. Yeah. I don't really count the support gems.
I'm talking active gems here.
Skill. Active gems, yeah. So it's interesting. I was thinking about it before we came on today.
Okay.
While I was eating my lunch. Do you remember the process? Did we get to try out gems before, if there wasn't a beta? Did we get to try out gems before they came out? No, mostly there would just be new gems released and you just go, right?
Yeah.
In old releases. So I think that, creates some interesting, you have to kind of make...
They're going to be data mined and everything, so it's...
True.
They're not going to be that... I don't know, like we will know pretty much everything about them.
Right.
There's probably going to be someone who's going to make like more of a, there's all those sites that perfectly show like area size and all the kind of like small things you can't really visualize, but there's probably going to be someone who's going to make a visual representation of how the skill would look. There's always people doing these kind of things when we don't have all the information. So
yeah. And I guess one nice thing a little bit about PoE is you can kind of make a generic X build, caster or melee or something, and then make the skill work, and then you can obviously just tinker. You have some respec points, and you just sort of over time get your character to be what you think is better for it, and or of course they're fine with the fact that he really should have been playing one of the new gems. Let's you just make a new character after your first character. They want that. So I think in that sense it's a positive thing. I wonder, it's weird to me because I guess we really are doing invaluable testing in the beta.
Yeah.
But part of me wants it to go back to when we just knew nothing. And it just you know what I mean? Like a whole thing was just released and no one got to see any. Hold on, I'm gonna shut my window. There's crap going on.
Oh, okay.
Holy shit. Sorry about that. New York City living. Sometimes they're just like, oh, we're going to bang two things together. It sounds like, someone's just beating
hear
metal.
anything.
So, okay, well, it was annoying the shit out of me.
Okay.
So.
But no, anyway. It's I think they're hitting a good like middle ground here.
Okay.
Of that, because I do agree it's more exciting when we're just handed things and we can just play with them rather than getting all this time to, because the beta is always going to be a beta. It's never going to feel like the real thing whenever you're playing it. It always feels just as a testing ground, and the more you get to just play with the thing there, it just kind of loses its, I don't know, what do you call it, like allure or
right.
Just kind of loses its just magic from when you just get to play with it in the league, because there's more of there really isn't an opportunity cost to it when you get to play with it in the beta, because it doesn't matter. You're just playing around with things. You're not trying to get to a certain point. It's rare that you actually have a goal in the beta, right? Let's say that you're playing. Let's say you want to be high on the ladder or something. If you go for one of the new gems in the release, you are going to take it. It will be a gamble. It's not a gamble on beta in the same sense. At least that's how I feel about it whenever I get to play around with gems like this, which is why it's so exciting to me that they are not being released before the actual 3.0 release, like that we're not getting in the beta, because then I have to make a choice whether or not it's something I want to risk, want to gamble. Do I think the skill is strong enough to play with? Maybe it's not. Maybe it is the greatest skill, and I don't know. And then you log out. But I think that's exciting.
Right. Well, and I think just to go off that, you're just not as invested when you're in the beta and you have So it kind of it is interesting to me as I look back on. I think specifically it was 2.0 with the very long beta. How really I just really wasn't invested in that next league. It took to the league after that for me to become invested in what was going on, because I'd already made 6 characters or something. I was like, well, there's nothing really for me to do, and I had to specifically not test something. I think I did not test Bladefall, as I recall, and then I made my Bladefall character because I was like, well, I'm just not going to play that because that looks fun, and that'll be my first. So I had to specifically not test it, so I had something to do. And so I it's interesting at the start. I want to kind of own up to it. I was kind of, not negative, but I viewed the whole process as a bad process.
Okay.
How this beta has gone a little bit, and I still think that my instincts were right. But I've, in terms of how I feel about it, that said, I think given what we've seen and what's going on, this was kind of the best thing they could have done. Yeah. Because it seems very clear. This is not a knock against them. There's so many people playing PoE at this point that unless you have a big scale test, yes, maybe only 3% of their users have problem X when the game launches. And back in the day, that was, 300
Yes,
people,
support could just take care of that. Like you could have
take care of that.
like a by person. Like you could find a solution for every single person, and you could like go in and without having to wait like God knows how long. Because now let's say they would release now and they didn't have a large scale test, and you would have 3% of the population having the same. Well, it would take such a toll on the support, and they would be backlogged for so long.
Yeah, it's a huge. Obviously, it's a huge. It could be. These could be earth-shattering numbers.
Yeah.
And I fully. I mean, I guess at one point we're used to it a little bit. I fully expect to be Moore's raging a little bit about the servers going down on Friday. It seems so set, and that's a positive thing. It means PoE is growing. There's more and more people playing. I think no matter, even if they're like double the servers we had for last time, which I'm sure is something Chris is doing. It's not like Chris is stupid.
No.
I just think there's no way to predict what's going to go on. It could be just massive.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely massive.
I have been experiencing quite a lot of. Have you seen how many people died? Like or not how many? It's not that it's that many, but I think there were. I died to a flatline, and then I know Sai died to a flatline, and then there was some other guy who definitely also died to a flatline.
Norse, the Norse guy.
Yes,
but apparently he's been having bad internet though. That's what I read in his thread.
Okay, that could be.
Now, can I just say? I'm not to derail us a little bit. If you're having internet problems, why? And I'm not saying to you. I understand you've had your own issues with it.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Why people don't have the macro for the logout? Now I understand.
But this is something that doesn't. The macro doesn't help here. No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't.
Okay.
It's like their server just. You can't even send something to their server. It's not going to receive it.
But yet your character is still able to die on the server.
Yeah.
Even though it's not receiving any input.
Yeah, that's how we died. Like every one of us clicked the thing, and every one of us died.
But like I saw in the Norse guy, he clicked exit to character screen. He didn't use the macro.
Oh, okay. Well, I used the macro immediately.
Okay.
Like within half a second of me noticing it, I was out.
Okay.
And then I was dead. And I know of a few others. It's just unfortunate.
Now, okay, but I saw in one of those threads though, somebody was saying, I am not experiencing this problem in Legacy, but I am experiencing it in it's Turmoil, right? It's the current race.
Yeah.
So then it becomes a question of, are there less? Have they allocated it to less important servers or something? Now I saw someone else saying, while they're with soft layer, this will always occur. It's interesting.
So
I feel like,
do you understand do you know what soft layer is? I've heard that mentioned a few times.
So as I understand it.
Yes.
Okay, if I'm remembering the right thing, I thought soft layer was the actual server, where it's the company that hosts the server. I think. Let me look at a trace route.
No, I think that's right.
And if it's not, then it's the big tier 3 company that gets the data to the server. It's one of those two. I actually think it's the hosting for the actual in and out and where their jazz is, all their stuff.
I have heard that they've not had the best rep when it comes to just a stable performance.
Right. I'm just opening up a thing here. I want to just confirm that it's the last hops. Yeah, soft layer is the last hop.
Okay.
Static reverse soft layer. So yeah. Now, I mean, I can't speak to it either way. It's weird. I don't want to malign something when I don't know anything about it. I take what people say and I say, okay, so maybe there's some evidence of that. I've also I feel like I've been around the internet for so long. There's just everything has a bad review. There is no single thing in the world that doesn't have that has zero bad reviews. And the thing is, the internet, it does make it easy for people to just make a comment and take a poop on the company, and sometimes it's very tough to recover from that. Now, I am sure without a doubt, all companies like SoftLayer are probably dog shit for gaming.
Possibly.
Right? So like even if GGG picked the best company for hosting the data, unless they built it themselves, I am sure, because it is based in America, I think, right? The SoftLayer company, though I'm not sure. I mean, the main server thing's in Texas, right? Which is what people always complain about in racing, how if you're EU or Australia, you have a longer load time no matter what.
Huh.
It doesn't matter if you have an SSD, right? You've seen this, right, Nugi? That there's this longer to load an instance takes longer the distance you are from Texas.
Well, it makes sense, but yeah, no, I haven't seen. I didn't know of that. Okay.
So it's an American-based thing, and I can tell you from personal experience, it unless you built it yourself, I mean, maybe Amazon or something would be better, but they're probably not gamer-centric. You're going to have problems because all these companies in America are cutting corners, and there's very little competition when it comes to this stuff in terms of internet stuff, which is weird since America invented the internet, and yet somehow we've decided to do all this stupid stuff. So I think that's just the nature of, I don't think it really matters what they do. There's going to be problems in one form or another.
Yeah. It's definitely something I think I'll look into it a little bit more, get some more information on the matter, just so I can speak of it with more clarity. I don't like speaking on these topics without having the full picture, because then you end up blaming the wrong parts of the system.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I know 1% of somebody who is an actual network engineer who could explain, and maybe it's worth it to have someone come on.
That was a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, if we could get a PoE person who's actually a network engineer in their life and talk to us a little bit about it. Yeah, now, I did notice, it's funny because I haven't been playing for the past 2 weeks, basically. There's apparently a Time Warner cable, which is the company I have, which is now Spectrum, is this huge monolithic company. Let me also speak to the fact that we no longer get a deal.
A deal on what?
I pay on my TV and internet.
Oh, okay.
Now, most people my age, not most, a lot of people my age in America just have internet.
Yeah,
they don't have TV. They don't have a phone. I have all three.
And you can't say no?
Sorry, what did you say?
You can't say no to parts of it?
Well, you can. I just used to get a pretty good deal because we still paid for all this stuff.
Oh, okay.
And they're no longer giving anyone any deals.
Oh, so you have to pay for all of them separately at their...
You have to pay at the max rate and all this stuff. And because I can't go to another provider.
Oh wow.
So no incentive to give me a deal. I can't switch to anyone else.
Wow.
So, and I just think it's just indicative of this sort of stuff. So apparently PoE, people with Time Warner Cable are actually having problems the last week or two connecting. They change instances and they disconnect.
Oh.
And this actually happened to me in 2013. Same exact problem. And there's even the people posted the IP of where your people if you did a ping test where all of a sudden you're pinging the GG servers and you get 1,000 MS or something from this one hop. Same fucking thing was happening to me in 2013. It's at the same. I mean, it's the first three numbers were all the same, and it was two digits off the last number. Now, again, the network engineer could explain. I've got to believe those are pretty close.
Yeah,
it's in the same something somewhere, and so it's just funny. Until they decide they're going to fix it, there's nothing you can do, and so you're just at the mercy of all this stuff. And I think, in all honesty, for GGG, it's the same thing with the SoftLayer company, right? They're in Texas.
Yeah,
God knows what's going on, and I really think that that's part of the problem. Or however they pay for routing.
And let's say they're having let's say that they're not satisfied with the product. What do you do then if you have to? It's a massive undertaking to relocate to another company.
I would think, yeah. So and I'm sure they have a contract.
Yeah.
Right, because you just don't. At this point, I don't know what GGG's paying for. Let's say it's $5,000 a day. I mean, whatever the number is, I'm sure it's bonkers. But whatever the number is, that's enough money where there's a contract. This is not Moors and Noogies podcast hosted somewhere where we can do whatever we want. Yeah. Right? This is a massive, massive undertaking.
Yeah.
So I don't know what are they supposed to do? And the thing is, sometimes these things get resolved in 2 or 3 weeks. It sucks in the meantime.
Sure.
It would drive me I would, it's easy for me to say right now, oh, you just have to deal with it. This is life. Be mature and stuff. If it was happening to me, I'd be, fucking damn it, and like ready to murder someone and all this stuff because I'm like, can't do what I want to. Just God, what's going on?
Yeah.
2017. But it's.
I was going pretty out of my mind because I was having. I think it's subsided a little bit, but
Okay.
I get these weird spikes nonstop, and
Are you Frankfurt or London?
I get them everywhere.
Okay, I thought there was one that was bad for EU.
Well, I don't know whether or not there's one that's worse. I've been on all of them. I even tried the Moscow one as well. Didn't help.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's, and the problem is I can't identify where the issue lies. I've been trying so hard, so I don't know whether or not it's either, like, let's say it's the soft layer, could be that. It could be a patch that they've recently, because they implemented all the microtransactions. It could be that. I've recently just got a new webcam. It could be that. There's so many things it could be, and it's so hard to identify it. And I just wanna pull out my hair every time it happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're speaking to the choir. Those 2 months when I couldn't do anything on the internet.
Oh yeah.
It's not like it's not like I was like, oh, haha, PoE doesn't work. Let me just do Netflix or League of Legends or I don't know, watch Twitch. Literally, I couldn't do anything when the problem was happening, and it's was so unbelievably frustrating. So I'm very sympathetic. It was like I said, well, I don't mind announcing this. We are looking to move. I have a really great apartment for what we pay in New York City, because Mrs. Morris has lived here a very, very long time. There is almost no reason for us ever to move, given some of these circumstances. But I've been looking at places to move to, because it disrupted my life in such an unbelievable way, having all these problems. And it doesn't seem like if it happens again, I have no recourse. I mean, I got a free month of internet, but that doesn't, it's like, I don't care about that.
I recently got new internet as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I have tons of providers. My problem is the infrastructure around where I live. And I would have to convince my entire block or my entire apartment complex to chip in for putting down cables for fiber, if I wanted that. Okay. Yeah. But they do have. I do live right next to a hub for a DSL or whatever. So I have such a short distance. So the quality on that is actually super good. So I got that instead, because I was on cable, but every time there's in the evening, 7 o'clock, prime time when everyone gets home and goes on, I start lagging in game. Every single night I started lagging in game. It hadn't been an issue for a few years, but then all of a sudden it's just every night for a month or two.
Right. Yeah. So DSL, obviously, you trade. You don't get the top end, whatever 3 megabytes a second, but you guaranteed it's yours alone, right?
Oh, that I don't know.
Okay. I mean, at least here in America, I talked about it before. I used my summer job to install DSL at my parents' house. This is when I was 16, 17. It was one of these weird things where in America, at least, high-speed internet, you had to live within half a mile of the center of your town. And where I grew up in the New York area, it's just endless towns. So I mean, you could be 3 miles from the center of town. It's not like you're far away from things, but you were far from your center of town. Yeah. So you'd only get cable if you're close, but you could get DSL. And so it was only 50K. I believe it was 50 or 75K a second, which is crazy to think about. But the interesting part, because I remember when the guy was installing, and I had to pay the $500 for the guy to come install it, and he was talking to me. He's like, what? It's very interesting. Yes, the cable would be faster. You could get 500, maybe even a megabyte download a second if the website supports it. But it will go up and down. You can go out, you go whatever. This is a dedicated thing. It's only you, and you always have that speed. And I mean, he was right, and it's very interesting. I think that so much of all this stuff is obfuscated, and I think it's probably the same thing with the soft layer and with GGG. I'm sure we have a great thing.
Yeah.
right? We have the unbelievable platinum package, I'm sure is what GGG has. But for all these things, for us as gamers, it really actually matters more about your connection quality. It doesn't matter that, like, and I would, like I've been said, like I said, when I described my problem to the Time Warner people when I had the problems, yes, I have one of the, according to them, on the island of Manhattan, because I would send them my test logs, my download speed, I was getting something like 15% higher than their top rated package.
Yeah, and to them, like, through their metric, that is amazing. That is a really good quality.
Right, but every once in a while it dips to 0.
Yes.
Right. So it's like, I was like, so it's like, that's great that I have a Ferrari, but one of my wheels doesn't have a piece of rubber on it. So it doesn't really matter that it's a Ferrari because the wheel's not there and therefore it can't drive or I'll crash. Or you like take the wheel off as I'm driving and then I crash. And it was actually affecting my work too. And so, you know, it's interesting how the world has, in the quest to move to, because everyone's doing Netflix, everyone's doing all these things. I think this is actually a little bit of the new normal until we,
I think so.
Until there's another technological leap, you know, either it's,
well, they're cutting corner to give you the highest speed or bandwidth or whatever. And they will gladly sacrifice some quality for that. And it was funny because my provider, the last one, asked why I was leaving. And they were saying, well, we are providing the highest speeds of anyone. Yes, I get that. But this is very unstable and this is not, but if you need the high speeds again, just call us. I don't need that. And this just couldn't get through to her, but.
No. People do not. I think people do not understand, and it's very apparent for me on Netflix because we'll load up something, and if you happen to catch it at a bad time, your first 10 or 20 seconds is fuzzy and it's not HD and all this stuff. But Netflix, I think, dealing with this, first of all, they were paying for lanes and stuff, but they had increased, I believe, their buffer. I don't know if the buffer is part of the service or part of the device you're using. I don't know. I'm not an engineer in this type of stuff, but over time, I've seen it get better to the point where when we were having problems, as long as I got the thing going, like we're watching an episode of The Office or something, once it was going, even though I was having these dips where it meant I could not game, I could not stream, you could watch Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would buffer enough and it would last through the 3 or 4 second dip.
Yeah.
So it's a 10-second buffer. And then, of course, I have the Ferrari speed once you're out of the hill, you know, anyway. So I think it's just we just have to accept the fact that it's out of GGG's control a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I want to say I am a hypocrite because in the moment, if I'm streaming the release, I will freak out.
Yeah.
But I know intellectually, once I calm down, I know that sometimes there's just nothing, soft layer or, you know, servers or whatever. So,
one thing I speculate in a little bit is how much does it factor in, like, where the population is situated and how people view the issue? Because on hardcore, we're more susceptible to, like, finicky things and small, like, very like a disconnect every hour matters a lot to us. A disconnect every hour for someone on softcore, it sucks, but there still isn't the same. It doesn't matter as much because it doesn't sometimes lead to death of your character. And so sometimes you wonder, like, could they decide their quality of provider decided on of getting as many people being able to be logged in so they don't have to, so their servers don't go down, or so they're not like being like there's not too much traffic coming in and they can't handle that, right? So maybe they would actually go and prefer the provider that gives them higher traffic rather than a higher quality. And that would actually make sense from a business point of view. For us playing hardcore, it kind of sucks, but it would kind of make sense.
I think you're exactly right. And also just the fact that you make a choice to play hardcore.
Yeah.
So if they have a little bit of a sacrifice towards it while they're making the choice to do it anyway. And I guess there's people out there who would say that there's luck involved with it. You know, if you have a hardcore character that lives a long time, that you were lucky to have that happen. And I think that, you know, there's some merit to their point. I don't agree, but I think there's merit to their point. And I think you're exactly right. That if now we're not saying that they made that choice.
No.
Right. We're just it would make sense if that was a choice they made. I'm sure they want best of everything.
Oh, for sure.
In the real world, it doesn't work like that. There's one's going to be better than the other one, and if they pick one, they're going to pick the one that gives the most people the best connection possible, with occasional interrupts. Now that said, I think it's a perfect, not on our topics to discuss, but I think it's a perfect thing to discuss. People have been bitching a little bit about, in the Reddits, so to speak, about being able to set your disconnect timer. Period.
Oh yeah.
So what are your feelings on that?
On that? I really wish we could.
Okay.
I think I got after I read a transcript of I believe it was Jonathan, who had been talking on the subject on a podcast on Lioness Watch number 6 or 8 or something, where he was pressed on this, and one of his reasonings for why they don't have an option like this is that, well, then if a player comes in to, say, a stream and watches that, and they say, like, they see that there is this option that they have, they will then, because they see that and they expect that to be the best solution for them, they will then get the worst solution for them, maybe, because then they get thrown out all the time and they wouldn't understand that. Which kind of got, that train of logic kind of got to me, though, because that it just assumes all the wrong things on their player base and on the side of a streamer, because it assumes that the streamer is very bad at communicating what it means to have these kind of settings when they're showcasing them, and it also means that every single guy watching a stream is a sheep and cannot do anything but to follow whoever is, like, what the streamer does. And that kind of got to me a little bit, though. I would like, because I don't think it's fair to kind of to go on too much about one bit, when he was asked about this.
Right. Picking apart when he's just extemporaneously talking.
Yeah. So I would love to to hear some more, to hear the entire argument of why they don't have this.
Yeah.
Why they can't have this.
Although I do want to say, I agree with you. Let's not pick apart that.
Okay.
But I do think it's fair to pick apart some of the intent behind it.
Okay.
Because they have echoed that sort of thought process of, we can't allow it because somebody else will be doing it, and then someone will see it in a stream and then emulate that. Because that's been their argument for things like shadows and God, I had another one as I was talking and now it's slipped away. But they have that, or maybe it's particle effects.
Yeah.
Although I know shadows and particle effects are the same thing in some sense, but removing the choice from people, I don't. It's funny. I don't like that. And then the part that's so frustrating is, it makes it so you're focused on the wrong thing. Right, because right now people blame, well, I can't set my disconnect thing to 1 second, and people used to blame desync all the time when they really just made a mistake, right?
Yeah,
and that made even though they're wrong most of the time, I would have said I don't believe desync is why they died. I think they did something stupid. I understand. I'm in the minority when it comes to that stuff. I'm not going to defend or fight. I don't care. But getting rid of that nullified all of that, and they saw a huge spike in participation in playing the game. And so these little things that they can add, which if it's already there, now maybe it's tough to program it to be customized for everyone. So I understand maybe it's I'm an armchair programmer, all this stuff. Okay, but if we're told that it exists and you've set it at 6 seconds because of instability of the internet, well, then people are going to want to be able to tighten that up. I know that 2 seconds I think would be fine. For
even
me.
1 second. How many times do you experience a 1 second flat line?
Very rarely. Usually it's my internet's having lots of problems. And
Yes.
It's time not to play PoE at that point.
It's
I
second
think
is such a long time.
such a long time with no packets at all.
Yes.
Yeah, it's such a long time. It's strange that they feel that way. But then on the other hand, let me just say, can I you know, I don't like that he says something like that, where it's like, well, people care about what streamers do, right? But yet, and we've talked about this a little before, I don't feel that much support for the streaming community from GGG. You know what I mean? It's there. I think they're it's a great company, 100% a great company. And Bex gave us beta keys to give away, which we did, like,
interacting with Bex has always been very nice.
They're very nice. They're very pleasant. I don't hate,
like anytime you interact with anyone from GG on an individual basis, it's always good.
Yeah. A+. Their support is fantastic. This is a company, if I had to bet, if I was forced to say, Moors, we're giving you $10,000. What game company out there would you bet on? I think, to be perfectly fair, I might actually bet on Valve first, because they own Steam and they seem to really know what they're doing. But second would be GGG. And I think that's a very big compliment to them, because I would bet on them over Riot Games and some of the other very successful developers that are out there. So, I'm trying to approach that. This is not, if you're an investor, you want to make a smart decision. I think that speaks a lot. I feel very confident about them. They're great.
Yes.
And yet, so clearly they're mindful of the streaming community, but then I've always felt like there's been like a lack of more involvement a little bit with the community.
Yeah.
And I come back to, I always feel a little hesitant to bring it up, because it sounds like I'm mad, jealous, or something about it. But I've always maintained I'm in the sort of the B team or the C team of streamer. I am farther down the list. But as I say, if Mathel, or Ziggy D is an exception, if Mathel, Etup, Noogie, Ziz, if those people aren't getting much interaction from GGG, what hope do I have? Right, as a solid B team streamer, right? And that's not to say there's never been interactions with them. They clearly, it just doesn't seem like there's a thought process or a concerted, or like, here's how we want to do things. You know what I mean? Here's how we.
It's rare that you feel like they're inviting us in.
Sorry, what, say that again?
It's rare to feel as if they're inviting us into something.
Yes, I think
it's more of they're gifting us something rather than inviting us to something.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Right, and it feels like it's underutilized. That's really the point that I'm getting at. And it's so weird to hear them say, but yet the whole community is influenced by streamers to the point where we can't do something because the streamer does it. You know what I mean?
No,
so it's like, but they have a point though, right? Because people are like, why is Spectral Throw so strong? Well, Mathel's always playing Spectral Throw. That's his favorite build. I mean, I think there's a point there.
Oh, sure. No, streamers do influence player perception 100%.
Right. So it's been a weird. I don't know. It's been a weird. I don't know if I can always crystallize exactly what I think or feel about it without being too, like what does Morse think? And whatever. So, just trying to be objective about it. I'm not saying it's bad. It just seems like they just never really developed that. It's always like it's been a gift. Like the game was more popular than they ever expected. Right, so that was a gift. There's more and more people playing, so they can have bigger and bigger expansions, and they can do crazy MTX and design all these uniques. And I think the same way the streaming community, why is it entertaining to watch PoE? I see that said all the time, and it's like, but yet there's lots of people who watch if there's interesting content. You know what I mean? I come back to that. People will show up if there's something. Now, sometimes PoE is a little boring. That's kind of the nature of the game.
Oh, sure.
There's a cycle. There's a cool period, and then there's a cooling off period. Now, so will you watch Moore's stream in the cooling off period, other than the like 50 hardcore people who like me? No, but they'll come to people like Ziz or Noogie or whoever who have because they're coming to see your content in the cooling off period. So clearly but you enjoy playing PoE, right? So there's something to it. It feels like it's more popular, not that than it has a right to, but it's more popular than you'd expect. Because one thing I've noticed, if you look, I see games cycle in and out of the top 20 all the time on Twitch, and PoE is like firmly in its spot. It's always in that same spot where it's basically, if it's a hot period of PoE, we're in the like 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Occasionally top 5 if there's a bunch of streamers
Yeah.
doing it. And then we kind of shift down to like 15 to 25. But we're always there. And I see other games, you know, in and out, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely maintained its position, and I would say it's been growing slightly.
Yes, I agree. And so it just feels like like, I don't know, weirdly underutilized somewhat. That's just
and there's so much potential in PoE as well, for events you can make, and not just a race event, but just I don't know, like a streamer event where you invite some people in and you do some cool stuff and you showcase things. People love that stuff. But there's plenty of people who don't really want to. They don't need to participate. They just need to have like a spectator, like something to spectate. So there's definitely a lot that could be done there.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just like a pet peeve.
Like look at Dead and Doom right now, right? They could pick him out. He's currently beating everyone on the Malachi. The Malachi kill. He just because, and I know this because he poked at me today asking if you could use my video because I have the one on Reindeer right now, and now he wants to beat that. Like, sure, but that's something I think that could be highlighted, right? A guy is getting for every single class. He only needs Duelist and Ranger now. Those are the only two. He has #1 on all the other ones. There's huge potential there to like showcase some of that.
Yes. Yeah, you know, we've touched on that a little bit before, so you know we don't want to. Yeah. I guess we don't want to beat it to death, but I think it's just an interesting. It's like a pet peeve of mine when somebody is like, well, like something because of this, but then if that's so important, why aren't all these other things going on? You know. Anyway, so.
So on the note of showcasing, should we?
On the note of showcasing, yes. Now we should say spoiler.
Spoiler.
Well, just so people know that we're talking about the gems. Oh, MTX. I totally forgot. My fault. You go. You were ready. Go. Talk about it.
Well, we have the new MTX system that's been implemented, where you have what do you call it? A wardrobe, basically, where you, it's called a paper doll.
Paper doll.
Yeah. So you basically have, you have all your all the different MTXs is like listed down on one side, and then you can like pick, I want to have this helmet on, I want to have that body armor on, those boots and that thing, and it just transfers over immediately. You don't have to take it off some other character. And if it's already equipped, it's going to say it's already equipped. So have you played around with it at all? Because I know you have tons of things.
I have played around a little bit with it. It was the type of thing where the fact that it broke 3 times trying to get deployed always got me like, I was like, is this happening? What's going on? But no, I'm gonna have to really figure it out once probably in the next week or so. I'm gonna I want to stream some beta stuff. I have to get ready for the release. I'm concerned about things that probably doesn't concern other people. First world problems. Okay, because I use MTX as a cannot delete this character attachment. And I don't believe that currently is how it works. I'm going to have to make a character, like a level 1 character, and see...
Just put some random MTXs and delete them to see if you can.
And then delete them and see if you can or cannot, yeah. And that's concerning to me because there is, someone would say, be careful deleting. I understand. They don't have I can't reorganize my list. Like if I could make it so that the character's up at the top of my or the bottom, whatever direction, I never delete the ones that are the oldest. But they organize it by name and I create characters. Yeah, I create characters for races all the time. I have to delete to make room. So it's I understand that was probably not what they intended it for, but it was really great. I have MTX on every single one of my characters that has, like I could delete my demigod character worth 50,000 exalts according to that thread that came out the other day with all the ultra rare stuff. So anyway, I am excited about the fact that no longer do people have to find MTX. right? You would, like you were saying, you just click,
Yeah.
and that's clearly going to save them money long term, right? Because customer support, I had to talk to customer support one time.
I guess, yeah,
to find MTX. So I mean, it's a money saving thing in the long run.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that we get permanent skin transfers.
Yeah. How do you think that will affect? Because I've been thinking about that. What would that actually do to that whole market?
It would freak out, and it's already freaked out at this point.
Apparently, Queen's Decree is worth a lot.
And I don't want to say how many I have because
I think
that would affect. Okay, that would affect the market. So I have one for sale.
Okay.
No, and it's very.
I've had multiple people like over the years try and get one because they have seen that I won one at some point.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah, I get a weekly email.
Oh, you do?
From somebody. On my PoE official forums, asking to buy X of the rarest things. Carcass Jack, or Queen's Decree now, or
a mirror.
I don't know. Yeah. No, well, the mirror, nobody's tried to buy it for me in a long time, which is surprising. And so that was interesting with that thread from the other day. I don't know if you saw it on Reddit. It was pretty upvoted thread.
It was the guy who had everything.
He had everything. Yeah. So he has a better collection than me. I don't have some of the PvP stuff because I didn't care. And I thought I bought it, but I remember now that the guy backed out of selling it to me.
Which
the only thing I don't have from racing is the Terran Shiver alt art, which was season 3.
Okay.
Season 3. It was the Descent when Descent first came out. I was so pissed about how unbalanced that race was that I just did not participate that much in the season. No. I only got like 450 points. So I don't technically have everything. On the other hand, though, compared to that guy, as I said in the thread, the difference between me and him is when I have something, I have a lot of copies of it, so I can sell stuff. You know what I mean? That other people like. What is he going to do with that collection? Is he going to sell it all?
I don't know.
If it becomes skin transfer, or would he keep? Because he's only got one of most things.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's going to have it for his skin.
What happens if you do permanent skin transfer? Does it consume the item?
That's the question. That's the real question. If it permanently consumes it, I have a problem with that. I don't like that. And I kind of think that might be their solution.
I think so.
In which case I'm going to say, why do this then? What's the point of having an ultra rare item that you have to destroy in order to use it? Now, I think what they could do is, I don't know. I just don't think there's a solution that honestly makes sense other than just letting us skin transfer and then selling the item later if we want to. Yeah. That's the whole point of if they're basing all this stuff on magic cards. I have very expensive magic cards.
So you would have them. You would have the skin transfer and then be able to sell the item and still have the skin transfer.
No. You can put the item on something, but in whatever league the item came from is the only place you can take it out. Now, of course, I'm sure this is rife with, something could be an exploit or whatever. Because there's a rumor that people were able to skin transfer acuities from one league onto the demigod gauntlets, and then skin transfer them out into whatever
so
league
you mean the temporary thing? You would skin transfer on that thing where you can like pull it out in any of the leagues, and you could then transfer that one.
Correct.
Because
there were acuities that were the wrong eye level that existed in the game, and that's not possible. It only drops from one place. At that point, anyway, I don't know. Is there div cards for acuities now? Can you get it from the void? Can you get acuities from the void or something? Anyway, this is before divination cards, and I saw them myself linked to me in game, where they were like eye level 78 or something when they would have been 80, whatever the numbers were. There was something going on. Now, if there's a mundane explanation for it, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've seen the evidence with thine own eyes. I have seen the problems items. So there was clearly something going on. And so I think that's why they're leery. They would never talk about it because they tend to they obviously look at what happened with the League Stones.
Yeah.
When that exploit came out, people fucking, cats and dogs living together, burn their house down because of this thing. So, if that was going on, people would lose their shit over it. So anyway, clearly it's going to be tough. Part of me feels like it's never going to happen, but my dream is that it just works like a skin transfer, except you get it in your MTX stash, and then if you click remove, it goes back to whatever league it came from. The item's permanently, marked as hardcore or softcore, and it goes back to that league. And I think that's the only way to make it work. It's the only way that makes sense if this is based on a Magic the Gathering system. So if I want to play with my ultra rare Black Lotus, I have to destroy it to put it in my deck. No one would. That defeats the whole purpose of collecting, if that's what they're going after. So I know they want that because that's part of those card games is collecting the ultra foil and whatever.
Yeah.
So if you have a foiled item, the whole point is that you can sell it at some point if you no longer, anyway, I'm not saying I'm going to sell it. I just think it'd be weird if they made it where you destroyed the item, because I would never destroy my series mirror, but every league that I don't get to play with that shield on really bums me out because it's so unique looking and cool.
Yeah,
so
anyway. Well, you can go on hardcore and make a character with it.
Well, that's what I have, and that gets us that we circle back to. I don't think MTX protects me from deleting that character anymore, which makes me nervous. So,
well, I mean, I do think that. Well, on that, just on a little note, I really would appreciate if they would do some UI changes, right? For just sorting the characters you have and all that kind of stuff. With all these leagues we have right now, whenever they have an event, I don't know. I don't know where to. You have like this bar, like this tab. The roll down menu, and there's like 8 leagues you can click on, and then if you show all, they're just all bundled together. It's like why can't we just sort? Why can't we have a thing where we can just sort the thing?
Sorry. So what do you want to sort exactly?
My characters to where they're listed.
Oh.
Or I could drag one down. Okay, you go down here, you go down here, you go down here, and they're all in the button. And then all the new ones I create, they get listed from the top. Something like that. Yes.
Well, I mean, there's really so many areas that have, in my mind, have been sorely needed something. Stashes, I swear to God, I would just take home and end, moving a stash tab from the front to the back.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I need. I just need something. Or just let us copy from hardcore or standard or copy from the previous league. I mean,
when you think about it, all these small things, they don't take a lot of time, but it's just an annoyance every time you have to do it.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? It's funny because just such a small thing that takes maybe 3 seconds to do, just over time, because every new league you're faced with the same thing and the same annoyance, and it just accumulates, and it becomes this issue where it shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, my problem is it's not 3 seconds to set up my tabs the way I want them.
Well, yeah, for the longer you play, the longer it takes, or the more tabs you get used to having, and the more things you buy, and I think that's important. The more things you start buying, the more tabs you start buying, the bigger the problem becomes, right? So the more you spend, the bigger the problem.
Yep.
Which is kind of silly.
Yeah. No, I've really, 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 really wanted them to do something with that for a long, long time, and I'm maybe this is the first step. They do this MTX system and they fix it in a way where, and the thing. So it's nice. I see it as I'm looking. I open the game to make sure I wasn't super fresh on it. There you got your tabs up top, the cosmetics versus inventory.
Yeah.
But I see as you mouse over your items, nothing has MTX on it anymore. No item does.
Oh, really?
Right. Yeah. So, although I guess if it's a skin transfer, it says something. So I have skin transferred Chernobogs onto my titanium spirit shield. So there it says something. You can reclaim this by shift clicking.
Huh.
But everything else that's wearing my MTX has nothing on it. So I'm of the impression that I could kill a character with MTX on it and you wouldn't lose it. In fact, as we're talking about, I'm going to do it right now, do a test.
Okay.
But Yeah, hopefully this is the start of that they're going to do some of these small changes. Like, what if stash tabs got the MTX treatment, right? Where they became, you could, I don't know, copy something, or there's hot keys or swaps or anything. Move 10 tabs forward, 10 tabs back, copy
Well, it
your
would be
from some
nice if
other
we had
league.
like a paper doll system for the tabs as well, right? So you could rearrange them the way you would want, like in a paper doll system, and you could rearrange all the tabs, and they would then just mimic that in every single league.
Right.
That would be great.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I think that'd be fantastic. Well, I mean, I guess the problem with that is I know that, I mean, they say that it's not, but man, I move tabs around in different leagues and my tabs move in other leagues. So like when they say stuff about how they can't do such and such because,
Really?
yes, because if they do something to your tabs in some league, it has that's why they couldn't combine. You couldn't combine premium tabs into a God, not
Into
quattro.
quad.
What's the
No, quad tabs.
quad tabs, premium tabs, because you would have to, it'd be just tough, and you'd have to something. Anyway, so I
get that. Like, but
yeah,
having them rearranged isn't that different though from having them combined?
yeah, oh yes, absolutely. No. I'm just saying it's clearly much more complicated than we perceive it to be.
Of course.
I just saying, so that means maybe it's the time. We're getting to the point now where we've got all these specialized tabs.
Yeah.
People are buying more and more tabs. Game is getting bigger. Maybe now's the time to do a couple of little tweaks, whatever gets them the most bang for their buck. Because that is one thing I'll say, and I love GGG. Sometimes they do absolutely nothing. So it's like you can't make the argument that it's too expensive because they've put in $0. So I want to be like, so what does $500 get me? And like, what if they did a thing where it's like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to sell this MTX. And when you buy the MTX, you can buy it one of 3 colors. You can buy it in red, purple, and white.
Okay.
And if you buy the red one, the next thing we'll fix is stash tabs. If you buy the white one, the next thing we'll fix is,
Oh, so like okay.
Like community funding.
Yeah.
Now the money isn't going to go directly to that, but it lets people show their allegiance, and then you see all the people running around with red wings. And, the Red Wings.
It's like
they're the ones
what they have in Dota and stuff, right? Where you show your allegiance to whatever, and you have to like support this guy, and then everyone can you buy into it, and then you get to certain tiers, and you can unlock such and such and such and such, depending on how much of a community response there is to X thing.
Yes. I mean, something where we can then.
It's definitely a model that works on the financial side, because
right.
they brought in some big bucks over at Valve on that.
Or with the compendium, right?
Yeah,
and you support for not the Dota. What's the hell the name of the major championship? The Invitational. That's what it is.
Yeah, the Invitation. Yes, exactly.
Had to dig for that. But yeah, no, I feel like there's something. Now maybe my idea is stupid. Okay, not invested in it. I'm just saying there's something we can do where people can. I don't know.
You can definitely think out of the box to where we can as a community, and like they where we can like kind of show what we would really like or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so here we go. So I've made a character. It's level 1 in the turmoil race. I'm going to make sure I delete the right character. Okay. Here we go. And I've put MTX on him. Deleted, no problem. So, yeah, this is a very concerning thing for me.
It is important when they do like system changes like this, where things change, where you don't like, where players get accustomed to all sorts of things, right?
Right.
And then they change something that is fundamental to how someone has been playing so far. And he is unaware that this has now changed this, right? So he might go over like, okay, I have this and this and this and this and this on my characters. Now I'm just going to lead that character without really knowing that it's not protected anymore.
Yep. So now I don't know. I'm sure they would say, how many people does this realistically affect? 100 people?
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is, but it really, really affects me to the point where I'm going to have to I'm going to have to break out my Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass and make sure that I don't fuck something up. Because the thing was, it was foolproof before. You cannot delete this character with an MTX. And I go, if it has an MTX on it, it has a piece of gear on it. If it has a piece of gear on it, it means it's a character I don't want to delete. So, yikes. And I mean, why? Yeah. And again, my problem is because I can't reorder. I can't move characters.
Because like you had a solution before to where you could find, but now you have none.
Right. And the thing is, I will say, if it didn't exist, I would have been railing for something for a long, long time.
Exactly.
And
I actually you found something that solved your issue, and you're okay with that.
Right. And I do want to say, I actually think of all the, because I understand I'm vocal and whatever, but I think that this type of argument is actually something they have to listen to. Because if I say, wait a minute, you can't restore characters if I delete them, right? Where is the system to protect my characters? I might make a mistake. It is possible, and I have things that cannot be replaced. One-of-a-kind items,
especially in a game where item accumulation is such a key thing.
Yes,
and it's one of the things that makes you want to play over years to come as well.
Right.
Because you want to accumulate all these things, and it's very important that whenever you have, I think it's important to protect veteran players and to make it so that they don't just all of a sudden lose all their stuff that they've accumulated, because that's a sure way of losing that guy forever.
Yeah. I mean, and I understand the people who would say, well, it would be your fault for deleting it. I mean, I agree with you, and I'm just saying in the real world, people make mistakes. I feel like I'm a very careful person, but part of that is understanding that I can make mistakes. Even knowing that I can make mistakes, I know that they might happen. So I want to do everything in my power to limit those mistakes. That's actually kind of the way I play hardcore, right? Yeah. Why do I make a block character? Because that kind of limits my mistakes. If I fuck up, I have a greater chance to live than somebody else because I'm already mitigating 75% of the damage, which of course, why block is OP, but that's why I'm drawn to those types of things. So yeah, they talked about it and I thought that this was what was going to happen, but I was like, it can't really work like that, can it? But it did. So now I'm going to I almost have to make a Reddit post or something. I don't even know what I would even, it just feels so weird at this point that there's no.
Well, by fixing one thing, it just highlights something. Like it just ends up highlighting another issue. And
which is always
we can it's not something we can expect to like immediately. I don't know, maybe they could make some. I would on a thing like this, I will say I would like them to I would actually like them to for once just have like some solution, just some small solution before they implement the big one that fixes everything.
Right. Here, what if we could just have a checkbox?
Exactly.
Or something where you just check, and if that's checked, you either have to uncheck it or type delete. You have to type delete, because that's what you had to do in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
So I mean, dude, exactly. If you typed delete, you have a bigger problem. You didn't mean to delete the character.
Yes.
You have a problem at that point, sir, and that is your fault. Here, it's just delete, and that's it. So, I mean, it says, "Are you sure?" Yeah, dude,
I think whenever you click on the character as well, when you click delete, it does show which one you're deleting.
It doesn't. No, it just says, do you want to delete this character?
It doesn't say, do you want to delete and then a picture or a level 90, whatever. You always have to double check and go over again to then make sure, okay, this is actually the character I want to delete. Because I've been so scared so many times, like check, double check, triple check, that I actually clicked the right one. Because it's impossible to see it.
Yes, it is. I mean, I'm just saying, it's one of those things where it's like, like this. There just has to be a better way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, but I think it shows where they're going with game systems in general, because the current system seems way more polished, if that's a way to phrase it, way better than it was.
Or the MTX,
right? Because you can't lose an item. You can't lose an item now. You there's a whole separate screen for it.
It's amazing.
Everything's sorted. I actually
put MTX in my character.
Okay.
That's not something I usually do because I can't be asked. I haven't been like for years. I have to go back and find the character that had the thing on it. I don't know where it is anymore. I used it on like whatever character. Maybe I deleted it. No, I can't. But I don't know. But you know,
Right.
for the first time in a long time, I had like a fully decked out MTX on one character. I haven't had that in years.
Yeah. Now I don't, this is a minor, very minor quibble.
Okay.
I wouldn't sort things the way they've sorted them. Because your two choices are categories and themes.
Yeah.
This is not how I would put all the stuff that I wear as an outfit in its own little box if I could do that. But okay, I understand.
Well, that could be like a 2.0 system where they polish some of the things at a later time.
They'll never.
Never?
No. That'll never happen. Because it's interesting at sort of reflecting on where GGG has come and gone. If GGG and PoE was not as successful as it currently is, let's say it's a third as successful, the version that I described is actually what I think would happen. It would be like this, but you can move it around and you could sort it yourself, right? But this is the much more idiot-proof version.
Sure, okay.
And so, unfortunately, we're in a time period where there's a lot of idiots playing PoE. So we have to kind of now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everyone's stupid. I'm just saying, compared to say someone like you or someone like me, there's a lot of people who are novices in PoE. So they're in the idiot group.
I have heard a lot. I've actually seen quite a few people being very upset about the MTX system. I couldn't really figure out why, but they were definitely very vocal about how bad it was, and I don't know.
Which, the old one or the current?
The current one, the new one.
Oh, interesting. Now I missed all of that. Where did you see that?
It's just in my chat. I've had 3 or 4 people now just very upset about some of the changes, which kind of surprised me.
Okay.
So,
what were they saying, just in general, if you remember?
I don't even remember anymore. It was just in all caps. And then whenever people start writing in all caps, but it just showed me how upset they were.
Were they memeing all caps, or was it actual?
No, actual. Like I'm pretty sure that because it just came out of nowhere.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't seem to care if anyone reacted.
Interesting.
So.
Well, I guess I don't know. Is that just there's going to be people who are pissed about anything that ever happens?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Because I didn't see, other than the fact that it kept failing to be implemented, I didn't see any real negative feedback about it.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. Not really, not in like a large scale at all. Everyone I know seems to be happy about it.
I definitely, I guess I'm going to make a Reddit thread about, can we get it, can we get some input? Or is there anyone else? Am I the only one who used shitty MTX as a placeholder cannot be deleted thing on a character? I don't know. Maybe it is a real small section of people. I just don't know what I'm supposed to do now that I use that for. Since MTX came out, I use that.
Yeah.
As a placeholder for cannot be deleted. Anyway. So overall, I think it's good. Good changes.
Yeah, no. I think
you can't lose the stuff. Clearly going to save them money, which is, I think
really the thing to me is just the accessibility of your microtransactions, the visibility, the fact that you can see what you have and what you miss.
Yes. On a different note, those same sort of thing.
Okay.
In that thread, talking about the alternate art stuff, which of course is only valuable because of potential in-game MTX stuff going on. Omnitect, I forget who that is at GGG.
I don't know.
That Eric? Anyway, it's somebody who's been around a long time.
Okay.
Their Reddit name is Omnitect, or OmniCC or something like that. They said that there was a bunch of 3D art coming for a bunch of items for 3.0. So apparently, Taxic, I think, is getting one.
Voltaxic?
Which I know has been people have been asking for Voltaxic 3D art for a long time.
It's
of course,
cool
immediately somebody was. What'd you say?
It's a cool bow, cool looking bow.
Yeah, cool bow. And so, of course, immediately people were like, well, what about Lightning Coil? And then somebody else said, insert meme about Dune Kubiari. So, but, it's interesting. On the one hand, I think it kind of feel like it'll never happen, the whole permanent skin transfer of an item from another league.
Yeah.
But on the other, if they're adding this and they've added the system, I feel like there's more opportunities for interesting things to go on. So I'm excited for it in that respect. I can deal with the downsides if maybe we get some cool future stuff that'll come out to take advantage of the new system. So anyway, that's enough of that. Third and last topic.
Yeah.
we want to talk about gems for a little bit, and as Nugi very smartly pointed out, and I completely forgot about, there are some people who do not want to be spoiled,
like at all.
So I guess if you I guess leave, if you're watching his stream and you don't, I guess come back in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. We're not going to talk about it too much. And then so I will read the 3 gems.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to let you react, and then
okay.
Where did I write them?
Okay, I'll be the.
Okay, so we're going to go in order of them being released.
Okay.
So Storm Burst. Do you remember that one?
I remember.
Okay, what do you think about that just from looking at it?
From looking at it, oh man, it looks like a spell version of Blade Flurry.
Yes, I think that's a good way to sort of put. It's a channeled, and then
with a release,
something's
with
happening.
Burst.
With a burst,
just pops.
Right. So that has high potential, in your opinion, I would assume.
Well, if Blade Flurry is any indication of what a skill can have for potential, then yes. Yeah. Again, damage matters. Like how big of an area you can cover matters. How additional projectiles would affect it matters. Just all these kind of things, right? Where what kind of utility can you add to the skill to make it either do tons of damage or cover a large area? And if you can do all the things, then it has the potential of being a great skill.
Yeah. My 2 cents. I mean, it looks interesting. I tend to be people ask me for reviews of things. If I haven't been able to test it, I just can't form an opinion. It's how my brain. I just say things look cool and they could be bad. So, and sometimes things look bad and they're great.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say though is it's a lightning skill. So I'm fully prepared for it to be garbage, because it does feel like lightning skills have gotten the shaft for a long time, with the exception of Spark. Right, Spark was really good for a long time.
Still kind of poopy. It's going to be exceptionally. I think it's going to be exceptionally bad. People know looking at it right now, because you just all the things that did to nerf Wall Spark just ended up nerfing Spark. Right. So Wall Spark is probably going to be a good clear speed skill still, and then you have Spark, and it just has nothing going for it.
Yes.
Because you can't make the projectiles hit again. You can't fork them, and then they come back and hit it again, and like there's a timer and everything, and just to nerf the Wall Spark, but no.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny thinking about that. Spark was really good, and then they got rid of it and sort of, nerfed it, and then they were like, okay, well, we've nerfed how shocks work, and hold on, sorry, I got a message here. How shocks work, so they're like, okay, well, we have to adjust Spark, because otherwise it's really bad. The whole point of it is you could shock really quickly and it would bounce off the wall and something would blow up.
Yeah.
So then in buffing that, then they turned Volspark into insanity. I've talked about it before. The first person I ever saw to make it work really well was Etup's trap Volspark, whatever he used in a 4-link, which he would throw on a boss.
Well, yeah, because it would all just shotgun it.
Yeah, and then of course I killed Bob very famously in the Academy boss with all the tornadoes. But and then I know somebody, I forget who's his name. I'm sorry to whoever you are. The guy who came up with Vol Spark, because it was definitely a guy, because he showed it to Eton.
I remember someone running around with a fucking quill rain and everything.
Okay.
Doing like Felsran and Crypt. That's what I remember being showcased, where it was like it was only Vol Spark that was being used. That's one of the first iterations I remember seeing of it.
Okay, so anyway, the point being, since then I can't remember what other lightning skill was good. I was excited for Ball Lightning. That's kind of the playstyle I wanted to play.
Ball Lightning was somewhat good. Mostly if you used, I think the Emberwake stuff, so you could use that kind of stuff, but. As like a skill, not really.
Yeah.
Not really that great. Arc has been good on multiple occasions. Still is okay right now with mines.
Okay, fair. That's fair. I did forget about Arc. Arc has always been. It's interesting. It doesn't seem like it's super.
Self-cast is just too bad. Like, it's not good enough right now because there's too many monsters you have to deal with at a time. So that's where it falls apart.
Six times or something.
Yeah, you need to hit, and you need to hit like 30 monsters at a time for anything to be good.
Right. So anyway, I'm prepared for. It actually kind of excited me a little bit.
I think
looking at this skill, but yeah.
I think if this is anything like any other thing with overlapping AOE, there's potential. Because you don't have any other lightning skill with overlapping AoE. And overlapping AoE right now is probably one of the highest potential for single target that you find anywhere. And it seems like it has the coverage. So on that, I think it's probably pretty good.
Okay. So the next is charge dash.
What do you think?
I have to say, I did not watch. I watched the video, but I didn't really read up on it or anything. I don't really know what it just seems like it's a.
Okay, so it's a channeled skill that sends out a
ghost of you.
Yeah, an image of you, a ghost of you, and the longer you hold it down, the longer it just channels and flies away, and then once you release, you end Does it do a burst? Wait. Does it do like a damage burst on top? I don't know. Maybe it does like some damage from where you go from on where you land, and that's fine and all that. But the idea here is that they apparently want you to use like cast when channeling. So it channels as you, so you're channeling and casting, and then you release, and then you end up at the other place. So you have the cast and the movement skill in one, which is kind of cool. And you can adjust the move, like the speed of how it travels with like movement speed, and I think there's like several things you can do, like movement speed and cast speed and attack speed, and depending on what you have, like things will happen to it. The faster you attack, the more damage area you will create as you travel. Oh, damage areas. Oh, that's right. It does damage along its way as well. And with higher attack speed, it does damage more often, I think.
The skill comes with inherent risks. You can't adjust your target location once you start channeling.
Yeah.
So you might find yourself dashing into a tough situation that requires an equally swift escape. Okay,
Looks
skills
like a cool skill,
this,
honestly.
Yeah, it looks. Sorry, what did you say? It looks.
I think it looks like a cool skill to play around with.
It definitely looks cool. It's very tough. I find it very tough to judge in the abstract the movement skill.
Yes.
It's it could look cool and be really not, especially for a hardcore player, okay, that's great and all. There's no way I'm ever using that because I'm going to get bonked. So anyway, we'll see.
It all depends on its actual travel time, movement time, and all that, and how many times it triggers, and what we can think to it, and all that.
Right. Because while I appreciate GGG, they have their showcase videos, which are always good, but they don't actually highlight real world situations. So I mean, what is this going to be like with 100 increased cast speed? Is it going to be insanity, like shield charge for casters or something? Well, then then I guess we could start figuring out what's going on with it. But yeah, so anyway, so that's that. Then there's a skill they just released. Is it yesterday?
Oh, I think charge that seems to be a physical skill with conversion as well.
Okay.
That actually that gives it anything that converts has real high potential in terms of damage.
Right. Full elemental lightning with the physical lightning support. Skill converts a portion of damage to lightning. Okay. So so there's some interesting things to be going on with that. Then there's the Dark Pact skill that just came out.
Which is I was trying to figure out what that was about.
It's basically like some sort of vampire skill. You sacrifice life. But also you can do it with skeletons too.
Yeah, you can sacrifice the life of your skeletons or yourself, I think. The skill doesn't do damage to your skeletons. Instead, instantly removes. Oh yeah, so it's like, okay, well, it does damage, but it's in the form of removal, not actual taking damage. It just removes a part of your life.
It removes.
Yeah, just so you can't abuse it.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see again because with these previews, unlike in the past, they haven't linked to the gem.
Yeah, exactly.
In the post. They used to. So at least with that, we can get a little bit more of a because it says AOE. So all right, so we can put AOE. So I think until we get now, maybe they'll have a post of that next week. With the actual gems linked or something. You would think, since they'll be data mined, as Nugi was saying. But anyway, I like the way both the Stormburst and Dark Pact look.
It's a chaos spell as well.
It's a chaos spell.
Yeah,
it's got to be.
Let's see. Dark Pact sacrifices. Blah 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 blah. The damage dealt by the skill is based on life. Do we?
Corruption.
Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know. It does. It looks purple, so purple's
It's just
chaos.
interesting that they're implementing chaos. Have they? Do we have chaos damage in actual where it's not over time? Because I don't think so.
What? So ED is
Damage over
really
time.
the whole thing.
Blight is damage
The whole
over time.
thing. But isn't there an
CA is
initial
damage
hit
over
with
time.
ED? There's an initial hit though with ED, right?
Yeah, it's a small one that you could poison off.
Right. So I'm assuming it's going to work kind of like ED in some respect. It's going to be something, and then maybe it's just an explosion.
Yeah.
Instead of being over time, it's just a chaos explosion.
It's definitely an interesting skill. Like if it does enough damage, then it being chaos puts a lot of potential in it, because you don't have to worry about any kind of mitigation. Right.
So I mean that's always the key from the chaos damage skills, is that you don't have to put a pen gem on it. Yeah. So I'm assuming that it's going to be, it's not, well, again, I'm just assuming it will not be a level friendly gem, right? Because ED isn't very level friendly, is it? Until you get like a 4-link, or you maybe get
not really. Yeah, it takes a while before it comes together.
Right, because you can't soup it up with a tabula really until much later, compared to elemental gems, which with a pen on them become insanely powerful, and then scale that sort of falls off a little bit until you get curses and stuff. So anyway, I'm very interested to see how many more gems they release. I know we talked about that earlier. I'm 2 or 3 more gems like this. I gotta hope at a minimum makes me much more excited than I was. I have to admit, the fact that we did not get the gems to test, I realized how much of content for me is actually testing new builds.
Yes.
When I'm doing it in the beta, and up till this beta, and as I'm including alphas and stuff that were under NDA and you guys can't know about them, I always tested a new skill while testing the new content. Those two things together. But testing new content, while interesting for sure, is definitely not something that excites me that much anymore, given the fact that I've made 4,000 characters or whatever at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
so does this make you more excited for 3.0?
Much more excited. I was very, very, very nervous about 3.0 until some gems started getting released, because I was like, okay, well, where's potentially the new build that I'm gonna? Because now I would play golems, and I've done that for like 3 leagues. So I think it's such a good thing that they hold it on and like to some of the skills, and they didn't just give us all the things in beta. All these like, we need all this, and where's beta? It's not complete. Why is beta not complete? Where's my experience? And I want to say, I 100% agree with you. I think you're exactly right. And in fact, me being bored in the beta only reinforces exactly your point.
Yes.
Because I had never seen any of the beta, and I got the new content and the new gems all at the same time, because that would be a lot of fun. But if I'm going to have to do the content, I'd like to get all the content, so I can I'm just playing the game, which is so. And it brings to mind something I said a while ago, which I don't think you disagreed with, but you were like, how would they make that work?
Okay.
Where I kind of just wanted it to be a league.
Yeah.
The beta is just its own league, because we're already doing it. We might as well just make it a league. And I mean, the more and more I think about it, that offhand comment I made is, I think, 100% correct. I understand there's all sorts of reasons why I'm wrong.
For it to be exciting, or for the things you're expecting out of the beta, is that we get everything, right? And if we're getting everything, we might as well make it in the league, which is why you shouldn't get everything. Why things should be for testing specific things. That's what the beta is supposed to be about, at least in my view.
So part of me kind of wishes they would go back to that. I don't know. Go back to just making it. I don't know.
Oh, now you just want to go all the way back.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I almost part of me wishes it was they had a soft release the Thursday, which for them is a Friday, and there's no new content, but the new patch goes live, so that at least we can test stability. And that was it. There was just a huge beta test the night before, and that lets you patch and look at the skill tree at the same time, right? They upload the skill tree. Maybe they upload some other things you can, for the first time you can, 12 hours before the actual release. all this stuff comes out, and that's where the test. No one sees the content. No one sees the gems. Yeah,
I just think it's. I would. For looking at how they've been approaching the beta, though, I think it's important that we have it, because this is one of the times where they introduce ridiculous things to see the reaction and to see the interaction.
Okay.
Like, you can't really do that just 24 hours before. Like, look at something like Decay. It takes a long time to kind of like cultivate that and figure out everything. Obviously, it seemed pretty strong, but it did take like a few days before it was like fleshed out of how strong it was and how much of a nerf it needed. Right? They come in with like Arcane Surge. Right? If you just have that, how do you then over the course of maybe 12 hours completely redesign how it works? Or should it even be in the game in the first place? Like, there has to be a conversation, I believe, within UGG, whether or not, right? They have to okay, so they introduce it to the players. They have this idea of how it should work, and then they realize, well, okay, it's just gonna then be met with this kind of overuse in this particular instance, or it's not gonna be what they expected it to be. And so then you either have to just completely take it out, and then this thing they wanted to introduce is just missing.
Right. Well, and it's an interesting point you raise, because I do think that part of the problem is how they've changed what they do, where they are much more invested in whatever the version is that we release at the start of 3.0. That's the version people are going to have for the entire league.
Yeah.
Versus it used to be, 1 week in, this thing's clearly busted. We're going to just, sorry, you got to fucking deal with the fact that we're nerfing the crap out of this. And, I do understand that why they made that change, because I'm sure it's the same reason they don't change the passive tree anymore, because that's so much brain power to figure out what the hell's going on for the average PoE player out there. So I understand. I just think that, I do think that a balancing patch is kind of really necessary for a game as complex as this. We're never going to know until
sure. No, a balancing patch I still think is something that they should be more open to, just like kind of turning the knobs after a big release.
Right.
And kind of preparing players for the midway. Make it exciting. Having the midway balance or whatever. Right? So people know what to expect. Okay, there's going to be balance changes. 5 weeks in, 4 weeks in, 6 weeks in, whatever.
2 weeks in.
Maybe 2 weeks in, right? We adjust a few things, right? They were a little bit too strong. And then players know that, okay, this seems too strong. Okay, let me get the most out of this right now, because I know something might be coming. Right. And then you're not going to be blindsided because of that. And I think that's the worst thing that can happen in a game like this. It's just you get blindsided and you feel like you're robbed of something. That's not what you want to have happen.
Right. But I feel like because it used to be they patched once a week, in essence, or once every 2 weeks, and I feel like they've swung so far the other way, where it just feels like, unless it's an emergency. They're not going to patch a balance thing. And and it's interesting because I seem to remember World of Warcraft almost always had a bunch of incremental patches the first week or two into an expansion.
Yeah, they did.
Right? Or into a major patch. So it's clearly not a AAA versus indies can patch once a week and AAAs can only patch once every 6 months. There's clearly the ability to do it, if that's, as you say, set in the player's mind, is something that's going to be going on. Everyone expected, rogues have, permanent uptime on evisceration or something because of some energy change. So everyone's going nuts, bringing 10 rogues to a dungeon in World of Warcraft, knowing that that's broken and it's going to go away at some point.
Yes, exactly.
So it's like the same thing, but people be excited about that. And they're like, what are we going to do? How are we going to kill this boss once that thing's gone? So there's that same stuff, right, that can go on with PoE. Like, my character was great, but now this thing's nerfed. How am I going to solve it? But instead of letting people grow and experience that, they're too afraid of the 1 in 5 person who's like, well, they nerfed my skill, fuck it, I'm done. And I don't know if they can really, why worry so much about that? And it's weird that they care about that. They clearly care about that, and yet they will at times remove entire playstyles. Again, I still feel like they really attacked my playstyle with a bunch of changes that they made. I mean, they swung back.
Yeah.
Scorching Ray is my play style. Things like, they started implementing gems that let me play kind of like that immobile mage, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But for, I don't know, 6 months to 9 months to a year, there was nothing. Shotgunning was removed. Incinerate was nerfed. Ball lightning sucked. I'm serious. Like, literally everything. And I went
You're not wrong.
I went through each thing being like, okay, well, here's my next best option. And they're like, whoops, this thing's good. We're going to kill that.
Yeah.
So, it's weird how I am always so a little confused about that. Now, maybe I'm simplifying things. Maybe I'm not understanding the whole picture.
It's kind of weird sometimes, right? Like they have all this like, oh, we can't change this and that because then people are just going to disappear and they're going to be unhappy, and because you take that away from them. And then they go out and they kill like an entire playstyle of shotgunning and all that. It is kind of... Right. That is kind of contradictory.
Yeah, and so like I want to bring up a point because I hate Vol Spark, right?
Okay.
On the other hand, if you like that playstyle, I don't think that playstyle should be removed.
No, I don't think so either.
Let me put a heavy caveat on that. It doesn't seem like they can balance it. So then it's I do
think there is balance coming into it. The thing is, okay, for something like Vol Spark, it's something that's been enabled over multiple iterations of the game, right? Where you've gotten an additional tool and then one more tool and then one more tool and then one more tool.
Right, so it's like they take something away, so it's a -1, but then they give you something else, like Spell Echo, so that's +1, so it's like stays the same.
Yeah,
it seems like that's what's been happening over time.
So I think you can start taking away like, and then adding. The thing is, adding in monster life to bosses has a big effect on this because it makes these kind of builds struggle, except for Vol Fireball, because Vol Fireball could just use Conk Effect Flame Blast to get the double burn, and they would just kill all the bosses anyways. But Vol Spark, once you've clicked that thing and it doesn't immediately kill the boss, you just kind of stand there, and then you have to use what your falling spark on a boss.
Well, you
fat chance.
Flasks.
Right? Yeah, well, you TP out and you don't come back in because you're just done. Like that's kind of how it goes with that.
Right.
So there is, and if they're changing up the strand meta, right, and they're maybe incentivizing or giving more of a, like if you're getting rewarded heavier if you're doing some of the harder content, or if you're doing maybe not shaped all the whole shape meta. Let's say that there isn't this whole incentive of just putting like a ton of sextants on everything and just running strand all day, which is something they've already suggested they want to go away from. Well, then that in turn takes away from the builds that do that the best.
Right. So it's like a double nerf to those builds.
Yeah,
at that point,
like
right?
boss life, and then like a redesign of the Atlas, so the shaped meta at least, or whatever you would call it. Like that will affect it a lot.
Yes.
Also, with map drops, say map drops become more difficult to maintain. Well, then you have to go kill the boss every time.
Right. Yeah, you can't just throw away that free extra map.
At least it's a huge, like it's just too much of an opportunity to give away like that. And if you do give it away like that, then you better be interested in investing a lot into buying your map pool.
Right. Yeah, so I want to be clear, even though I don't like it because of what it's kind of perceptions and how fast it, and honestly I think it goes too fast. I don't want to I really don't want it removed. If you like playing that, I'm very against removing playstyles.
No, me too.
Because but I do think we at some point we do reach, this is the thing, at some point we reach a how do we fix this point.
Yes.
With some skills where they just seem to not be able to handle it.
Well, shotgunning was a problem. It was a balance hell. The same thing with AoE.
Yes.
And
but they didn't seem to really address the things that relied on shotgunning to be good. They
didn't really put anything in its place.
Right. And the other thing was Incinerate worked. That after the change, Incinerate was fine because they compensated.
Yes.
And then they nerfed that because somehow people were killing some things with it because it was a strong skill.
Yeah.
And there was really no reason to nerf it because, as we saw, things supplanted it very quickly
Yes.
as better things to do, but they'd already nerfed Incinerate at that point, then killing the whole
The
thing.
thing is, whenever you nerf something like that, and or you maintain its power, well, people understand how to build around that power already. So obviously, if you're not taking away its power, people are still gonna play it, and it's still gonna be popular because this is what people know, right? So you can introduce an entirely new skill, and it takes a while for it to cultivate it, for people to understand how to build it properly. And until that happens, well, we're still going to be seeing the same versions of the same builds we've seen before. But that's not because there's not anything else that's powerful. It just takes a while to figure things out.
To get purchase in our minds.
Like look at SRS, Baron SRS, right? It's powerful from the beginning. Just it wasn't really recognized. It took a little time to cultivate it and to understand like how much of you could actually get out of that thing.
Well, anyway, I hope that we'll see some interesting reining in of some of the excesses, but still people can play. It does see, because I've seen people playing it on beta. It seems like it's fine. Vol Fireball and Vol Spark, right? They're not necessarily as overpowered, but they're still workable.
Yeah. And you're probably gonna see them crush like low end content again, like super fast.
That's fine with me. I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's really, to me, that's the thing. I think that's fine. It's when you can then take what's you're 10 levels above the farming, but it still works in the toughest map with the toughest mods.
Like imagine that Vol, Fireball, and Spark was only really viable up to let's say you couldn't do 11-13 consistently with all the sections. Let's say the highest you could push it to was like 9.
I think that's great.
Right now, that would make it like just that would really rein it in terms of like how good it actually was.
Right.
Like Primordial Pool is still crazy, but like you take it down a tier, maybe you take it. I don't know. Like it doesn't take that much to rein stuff in.
Right. And then also the point being though, if you do have a 50x character or whatever, then it does kind of work at that point. I mean, I think I do think that that's the right balance for PoE. Is that again, of course, this could be a absolutely meaningless goal because it's never achievable, that every skill works with it's good to a point, then trails off, and then as long as you have 50x of gear, anything is good. I understand that all these things coming together are going to be tough. It just it felt like some of the Vol skills, they were pretty good, then they got even better, and then you got a couple of flasks and or one or two other things going, and they became out of I don't know. I mean, I do think that we have the problem we have a couple of systems interacting.
I think we just have too much power overall in general, so that you can make anything that has good utility just be strong. Yeah. So it's more about the utility, not about the actual damage output and the power and the character.
Yes, and so how do you fix this? In my opinion, remove ascendancies. I know that. I know that that's never going to happen, but I mean, man, I trace a lot of some of this crazy utility stuff to ascendancies.
No, right? It definitely plays a big part of it.
Yeah.
Into how we got here. So now they have to like kind of we have ascendancies. So how do we balance everything around this new? Because it's like a new. The entire thing becomes it's just a new skeleton that they have to like balance around. To begin with, they had the passive tree, right? So that was their skeleton, and now they have to balance around that. And everything is working fine within this in this system. Now you add another system to it, which kind of puts everything out of whack, and now you have to like rein things in to now work within this new system that is the ascendancies.
Yeah. Well, okay, so on an ending nice little segue there that you did, that we didn't discuss talking about it, but I guess we'll have to really see what happens with the Pantheon system. We don't know the end of it, right, at this point? So I'm assuming it'll be data mined. We'll have a day, probably.
I think they have data mined most of it, honestly. I believe they have.
I saw there's like a vessel that you have to kill the god.
Oh all that is that we all we have all that.
We have all that, but I mean, do we know the final?
Something that really puzzles me is the fact that they have not done any balance on it. They've not been a single. to my knowledge, there hasn't been a single change to a single Pantheon.
That's got to be because they're
me.
saving it. That has to be because they're saving because Pantheon plays a much bigger role in 9 and 10. So they're having all the balance contained in that. I've got to believe that because there's no way.
It's just some of them just seem so bland, and if there's nothing changing with them, that just seems so odd.
Yeah, I still feel like there's something yet to come.
Yeah,
there's going to be something.
You're probably right.
I just based on what's going on, I feel like there's something where there's interaction we don't know about, or we can kill bosses in a map and get a souped up version of whatever Pantheon we have. Something. There's going to be something.
Or like an additional layer to it.
Yes.
Maybe.
I feel like there's maybe not that. I just feel like there's going to be something. I have confidence in them. Now, maybe not. I think there's a potential that it is a little bland because we're getting all this new content.
Yeah,
and that's really what's going to carry us for 3 months. And then the next in the 3.1 for the next league, there'll be some add-ons to the Pantheon and stuff like that will happen then. I've got to believe it's because it just seems too convenient to you kill Shaper and you permanently get +1 to all res. If you do, he's a little tougher, like he's ghosted or I mean, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there's something. It seems like there's options there to have median XL type things going on a little bit.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, so I think that I do think people have been asking for stuff like that for a while. I know you especially, and so I think this is where they can get some of that stuff in. It will never be as good as, the standalone created labor of love.
I don't know. It could be.
It could be. No, it could be. It could be. I'm just saying that's a tall order.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of potential there, and I think honestly, I think there's more potential there compared to Lab, in my opinion.
Okay.
Even and I'm saying that it's very well documented. I hate the Lab, but I think that Lab was like just a little limited in terms of some of the stuff because it was a fixed location.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
To go into the lab, you had to fight Azaro versus if they can be like I think the way Atlas and Shaper was done. Well, you're all over the place with that.
Yeah,
right?
you can keep adding to it.
Right, you keep adding, and you're just customizable. I mean, that's because they built the base level out of Lego, and you can keep building that Lego. Versus Azaro the Lego's all built.
I think if you just keep adding to it, like on the side, right? And you can only pick 2 things, and then they could add another 50 things, but you can only still pick 2 things, and as long as
pick 2 things,
as long as they're all balanced, and you have all these crazy combinations you can now put together, and that could be great. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good spot to end right there.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank everyone for coming and listening, whoever and wherever and whatever you may be out there, to the Coffee Talk podcast number 20.
Was this 20?
Anyone who doesn't know, what'd you say?
What's this 20, number 20? Right?
It was 20. Yeah, it was 20.
Oh, wow.
20. I think I said that earlier, but you were getting coffee or getting a drink. Or
I need like a those things to blow.
You mean like a toy trumpet or a vuvuzela, or thunder sticks. But it's number 20.
Wow.
So we're getting up there. We're gonna soon we'll have a baby in terms of weeks or how many. Where do babies come from?
I don't know.
Anyway, just to say, you can subscribe to the podcast because we're an actual podcast with RSS, all this stuff, Android, iTunes, all these things. You just go to the coffeetalkpodcast.com and you click, and then you never have to go back, and we'll pop up in your thing whenever we do podcast. And then also, if you care about watching, Noogie has all of them on his YouTube, which is
YouTube /com/nugiyen, which is me. Hello, I'm Noogie.
Hello.
And where can they find you, Morris?
Morris, they can find at Twitch TV /MorrisRageNG. Although I will say, probably light on Pee-wee content until next week. So that's okay. If you're looking for Pee-wee content, Noogie is streaming all sorts of things. So
all the time.
By the way, I want to say, I don't know if I said this just as a nice ending note, I spammed the Noogie emotes
Wow.
in I think I was watching some League
Okay.
over the weekend or maybe last weekend, and definitely I had a bunch of people go, "What was that emote?" You know, because you're sideways, you know, Noogie 1, Noogie 2. So yeah, it's a good one of the better emotes I've seen, because the only one I remember being like that is when people came out with the 4 eat up thing, the eat up at the troll face, and Witwick's had the Witwick's face.
I will say there's been one other.
Okay.
You know the snake? Like the snake lady, whatever, the tentacle lady is lying there. That's kind of where I got it from. My idea from it.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Is it something? Is it a meme?
No, it's an emote.
Oh, so it's a Twitch emote snake lady. Yes.
Also on the whole baby thing, we're quite far away from that. It takes like,
I guess that's true.
It takes what 39, 40 weeks. 38, 40.
We're
only halfway there. We have half a baby so far.
So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much. It was great. And so regularly scheduled time, which is up. I guess we have the links.
That is
3 hours before now.
Well, yeah, 1800 hours UTC.
Okay. Time and conversion is very tough. So whatever the time is, a regularly scheduled time with Ziggy D. So I look forward to it.
Also,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you too. Bye.
Bye.